He'll be gone. He'll be terminated.
Yeah.
I know.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh,
You saw the, whoops, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Arnold said, he's like, yeah, the franchise isn't done, but I'm done with the
Yes.
franchise. Yeah.
Yes.
Smartest thing he's ever said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to put a poll up before we end. Let me get to the video real quick so I can do it in the stream. I was talking to my coworker today, and I'm the old man in the store, right? Like I'm talking cliffhanger, I'm talking daylight. People have no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh,
But
God.
the question came up of, I'm typing it right now as I say it. Who won the 90s? Are we going to say Sly or are we going to say Arnold? Because I was thinking about it and I just threw it in the chat as a poll. I feel like Sly, and this is a separate conversation too, like who wins at the end of the day, like as of right now between the two of them. I feel like Stallone might win because he has more franchises, more successful franchises, or I should say more successful movies in a franchise. But Arnold becoming governor, I think, is a pretty big deal. Like, I feel like we can't sleep on that. So I feel like there's two different conversations. One, between the two of them, who wins the 90s as of best movies? And then separately, who wins life, we'll say. And of course, everybody put it in the chat. Don't just vote, because I see you guys are voting already, but in the chat, let us know why you chose who you chose. What do you guys think? Who are you choosing on this? Actually, we'll go, Kenobi, you can go first.
Sure. So, hey, what's up, Tony? But yeah, you bring up a good point. I think Sly, you're right. I think he had probably more successful franchises. But man, I'm thinking, Schwarzenegger, and I'm thinking like, honestly, between Predator and Terminator, like those are, I still find myself rewatching those up to this day. So yeah, I guess you're right. It might be, a little bit different conversations, but movie franchise wise, probably Sly. But at life, as you were saying, I mean, we got the Governor. I mean, he had, a little bit too much fun with his Mexican, cleaning lady. I mean, the guy was, on point. So
Yep.
I don't know, man. Like life seems to, I think I gotta give it to Schwarzenegger on that one.
So you're saying Schwarzenegger on life, Sly on the 90s?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think, Anthony?
See, I think the opposite. I think Sly's winning at life because he does have more franchises and he's still, not that Schwarzenegger needs to, but he's still acting and I think he's doing different things now, like, him showing different Guardians and I really have to talk about Tulsa King one of these damn days because that's really good. I think that's Sopranos-esque, like a successor in the terms of just being a mob show in general.
Yep.
But for the 90s, and Stallone had some good 90s ones, but I think Schwarzenegger in the 90s, like, come on, Last Action Hero,
yeah,
stuff like that, and Terminator 2 in the 90s, I think he wins the 90s between the two of them. But it's definitely a longer conversation to have because, I mean, to steal from Charlie Sheen, they're both winning in general at life. They won the 80s, they won the 90s, and everything else. Like, Stallone has some crazy, like, credit of being in X amount of movies that went over $1 billion or something. Maybe $1 billion's wrong, but he has some crazy stat like that where he's the guy who has the most movies that grossed X amount of dollars in like consecutive decades or something.
So as a reminder,
True Lie. Oh yeah, True Lies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there's two things I want to point out. One, again, I see you guys voting, and I want to just reiterate, it is who wins the 90s. That's the poll in the chat. I mean, sorry, the poll that's in the chat right now is the 90s. But in your answers in the chat, of course, let us know who wins the 90s and life if they're separate for you. Now, both of you make very compelling arguments, right? And I'm actually not even going to say one of you's wrong and right, and the other one's right. This is not where I'm going with it. But I pulled up this list while I was at work, as I was thinking about it. And I was like Arnold has pretty legendary movies, right? You think best action movies of all time, you're probably going to say T2, you're probably going to say Predator. And then you think about all these other movies as you look at the list, a lot of times you forget about The True Lies. You forget even Kindergarten Cop. Kindergarten Cop's not even a bad movie. People just forget about it. But I mean, Conan the Barbarian, like Total Recall, like these movies are life-changing.
Yeah.
But
and I forgot that Kindergarten Cop was in the 90s. I thought it was, I mean, it's the beginning. I thought it was I would have swore it was mid 80s.
No, that's post Arnold competing, Arnold. But here's where it got interesting when I leave the conversation of the 90s and get into the life conversation. I feel like in 2023, if both people come out with a movie, I think people have no issue skipping the Arnold movies. And I feel like Sly makes it hard to skip his movies. And some of those movies that you do see with Arnold, Sly's involved, and it's his franchise. I think of Escape right here. That's Sly's franchise. I think Expendables, that's Sly's franchise. And then movies that get skipped, as I scroll down here, how many people watched Sabotage? If you didn't, I think you should. It's actually a pretty decent movie. Killing Gunther, I'm the only person I know who watched that movie. Maggie?
I've watched it.
Oh, you did? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
It's a good movie, yeah. But I don't think people rushed out for it. Like, they probably... Like, Kenobi, did you see Killing Gunther?
Nope.
Yeah.
I saw Maggie, though.
Oh, you did? All right, there you go.
Yeah.
But I think with Sly, I think people see the movies, and if you don't, you're still watching his franchises. So, Creed, of course, being the one I think of the most. He's not even in it anymore, and we're still going to see it. So let me type in. So, and this is going to be way more movies, of course, too, which is wild. I forgot it was in Grudge Match. I forgot about that movie.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, man. That's a terrible movie.
And he technically was in Suicide Squad, the movie. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, Rambo. Rambo's
Samaritan?
still good. Which one do you say?
The Amazon movie he did, Samaritan, where he's
No,
a
I
superhero?
do want to watch it.
I didn't
though.
watch it yet. Yeah.
I heard it was good.
Oh. See, they should for Rambo. They made one more after the one right there in 2008.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was one too many. The one in 2008, they should have stopped it right there. In my opinion.
I agree and disagree. Tango and Cash, amazing movie.
Tango and Cash is amazing. I love that fucking movie.
Actually, it's funny. I'm surprised Yukon Phil's not here. Watch him jump in after I say his name. On Yukon Phil's stream this past Saturday, he had Seth, formerly of What's Poppin' on. And I asked in the comments, if you had a choice, would you do Tango and Cash 2 or do a remake of it? And they both were like, I'm tired of remakes. I don't want any more remakes. But I think it's a valid question because that movie's so good and I love that concept. We've got tons of cop movies, but like if we had a modern day, like two action stars in it, opposed of each other, that didn't have ego, like that could lose a fight on screen. Like I don't know, I might go remake over them doing a second one. Kurt Russell and Sly Stallone, in case anybody doesn't realize. What do you guys think?
After you, General.
I don't know, man. That's a tough call because as you were saying, I was like, okay, who are these two action stars, right? And modern wise, there's not like it's a short list, man. In my opinion,
I think I would. I think if I had to choose two people, I'm going off the top right now. Alan Ritchson, I think would make a great Sylvester Stallone character. I can't remember who was who, but Sly Stallone, the clean cut guy, hates that he has to punch people. I think Alan Ritchson can play that. Look at that. He showed up just as as we were saying it. Look at that.
You manifested it.
I manifested.
I know, man.
So I think Alan Ritchson could play the Sylvester Stallone character. And then as far as the Kurt Russell character, the more rough type I know he's older, but I think I would like the older approach. Either because I was watching him on Inside of You this week. Frank Grillo, I think it would be hilarious as the rough old cop who just keeps kicking people's asses even though they don't want him to anymore. Frank Grillo, aka Crossbones from Winter Soldier, or his name left my head. Freaking Punisher. What's his face?
Oh, John Bernthal.
John Bernthal. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I can see that.
Especially because those two are shorter than Alan Richardson. So I think even Alan would, the character be like, look at you, short old man. Like, you got to be clean cut like me, I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But, I mean, Stallone has so many freaking movies. I didn't know he was in Men in Black. I don't remember that. But so many movies.
Oh, he was. Well, he was on the computer screen as like when they were identifying aliens all over the country and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I had the same thought as you, General. At first, I was like, "Who the hell is even an action star anymore?" I keep thinking of Stallone and Schwarzenegger and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to think, but yeah, Alan Richardson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Richardson.
Richardson. Even to an extent, kind of John Krasinski now because of he did 13 Hours, and I started, by the way, season 3 of Jack Ryan.
Yep.
Which had a pretty towards the end of the first episode had a pretty good like car chase and then like following an action sequence in there. So don't sleep on Jim Halpert. But
I hear good things about it.
I'd almost prefer a remake, like just because I don't want to. Nothing against them, but it's like to see these guys like Stallone's in his 70s, like he makes it work in Tulsa King, but I can't believe these guys would still be cops and everything at this point so far down the line. So I would have to go with a remake over a continuation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. The other movie I was thinking about before we wrap, as I was, and that's the part I like about the job sometimes, again, being the old man in the room, is I'm always telling them, like, look, you got to watch this movie. You got to watch this movie. I was thinking of Showdown in Little Tokyo. Dolph Lundgren, Brandon Lee.
Yes.
That movie, underrated action movie. And all of these movies are the same. Like when it comes to buddy cop movie, you have the one cop who's like rough around the edges, the other one who's the playboy. Like Showdown in Little Tokyo is the perfect like 90s action cheesy movie. It is just, and this was I think the second to last Brandon Lee movie. I'm not going to keep scrolling because there's nudity in the scene that they're showing the pictures of. But, like, it is amazing. And the best part about this movie, the best part of the gimmick here, in case anybody hasn't seen it. So Brandon Lee, in case you don't know, Bruce Lee's son. If you don't know that, you're too young to be here. Get off the stream.
Yeah.
But Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, Dolph Lundgren. Dolph Lundgren in the movie is the character that is like the Asian background, the Asian upbringing in Japan, the samurai way, like the Bushido way. That's his character. Yeah. And Brandon Lee is the rich kid from Beverly Hills that took Tiger Schulman's karate and is a cop.
Oh, God.
It is amazing. It is absolutely amazing.
Rapid Fire with Brandon Lee, his real second to last, his last movie before The Crow. That's a good. I love when in randomly in movies they'll break the fourth wall, and he does that in that movie, and it sticks with me. Like that, like they do it in Smoking and the Bandit. I like when they do that, like in action movies or just in a comedy. They look at you and you're just like brought into it. I was like, yeah, that's cool. They know.
Yeah.